My wife works as a secretary at a major corporation. Someone like you, who only graduated high school and lacks skills, probably doesn't even have such connections. A middle school classmate of mine, Tom, mocks me. The stress from continuously failing the bar exam must be significant. I can't help but feel sympathy for him, yet it seems Tom prefers to pity me instead. Indeed, I only graduated from high school and have never been married. If belittling those around him helps him forget his own misery, then so be it. Oh, speak of the devil, looks like your wife has arrived. How do you know what my wife looks like? We've met a few times before. Tom's wife, Emma, approaches us with a smile but turns pale upon seeing me. I'm terribly sorry for the other day. What are you saying, Emma? This guy is a failure in life. Unaware of the whole story, Emma begins to explain the situation to Tom, looking quite embarrassed. My name is John. I'm 42 years old and the president of a leading confectionery company called Smith Confectionery. Time flies. It's already been 12 years since I took over as president. However, I wasn't always destined to be the president from the start. The company was founded by my grandfather, who had 2 sons. My father was the younger son, and the company was inherited by my uncle, the elder son. Both my father and uncle had their own families. My father had me, and my uncle had a son named Wilson. Wilson and I, being the only child and close in age, got along well. Wilson felt quite pressured by the fact that his father was the president of a major corporation. John, you're lucky. You can choose your own path. It seems like everything has already been decided for me, so I can't even dream. Every time we met, Wilson would express his feelings like this. Normally, people would think being promised the position of president is a fortunate thing. But I didn't envy Wilson's situation either. It's not that I dislike my uncle's company or anything. I believe the privilege of youth is to dream. As we grow older, we're forced to confront the realities that challenge the dreams we had in our youth, one by one. But that was a concern for the future, and we, being young, had every right to dream. In that sense, Wilson's options were limited, and I could understand his dissatisfaction. Eventually, as I was considering which university to attend after high school, I wanted a career that involved interacting with foreign cultures, so I aimed to enroll in a university in France. Wilson was in his second year at an American university, studying economics. I successfully got into a university in Paris and made the move. Everything I saw and experienced was not only fresh but also enlightening, making every day fulfilling. During my second year at university, my fate took a significant turn. Wilson was involved in a car accident, rear-ended by a truck, and passed away. My uncle was deeply distressed, affecting even the management of the company. After the funeral, as I was about to return to France, my uncle and father stopped me. Could you take over the company in Wilson's place? We'd like you to leave university immediately and join our company. This is our request as well. You might have had various things you wanted to do, but there are many experiences only available to those at the top of a company. Please, help our company. I wish I could say I was torn, but I wasn't even allowed the luxury of hesitation. Thus, I dropped out of university and joined my uncle's company as the executive vice president. 10 years later, upon my uncle's passing, I took over as the president. This year, at the age of 42, I received an invitation to a middle school reunion. There's a handwritten message from Bob, who's organizing the event. Without John, who was always at the top of our class, it just wouldn't be the same. We're all getting older, and I'd love to catch up and share our current situations. I let out a heavy sigh, wondering, what should I do? My memories from middle school aren't particularly fond ones. It might seem odd that I have no fond memories despite consistently being at the top of my class. I didn't necessarily care about being the top student. It was because there was a student who desperately wanted that top spot. His name was Tom. His parents were extremely focused on education, sending him to supplemental classes from a young age. They had wanted to send him to elite private schools for both elementary and middle school, but he failed the entrance exams for both, ending up at the same school as us local kids. So, for him, not being the top student in a public middle school was out of the question. Unfortunately for him, I was in the same grade and consistently secured the top spot in terms of grades. Tom tried desperately to outdo me, but he never managed to. Since I didn't attend any supplemental classes, Tom became even more envious of me. How come you get such good grades without even going to supplemental classes? What can I say? Maybe because I pay attention in class. I pay attention too. Although I didn't need to be the top student, exam results were an important measure of my abilities, so I had no intention of slacking off and giving up my position. Wanting to be at the top in any way possible, Tom ran for class rep. Since no one else was interested, he automatically became the class rep. He showed his strength in assigning groups and distributing responsibilities for school events, subtly putting me in difficult positions. He put the worst troublemakers in my group and would say, "I'll tell John about the important school announcements," but then he'd just not do it. The next day, I'd be the only one out of the loop and scrambling, but since teachers tend to be lenient with high-achieving students, it was usually brushed off with a wry smile. I wonder if teachers will also attend the reunion. I thought about just sending a message of greeting, but Bob personally called and insisted I come, so I reluctantly agreed to attend. The reunion is being held at a spacious restaurant in New York. It's a restaurant known for its beautiful interior, often used for weddings or gathering events. Since most of my classmates live near New York, it was a good choice. Those who stayed in town were also happy to attend, seeing it as an opportunity for a sightseeing trip. The plan is to bring families along and have a lively gathering, so I'll be able to meet classmates' spouses and children. I only know them from 27 years ago in their school uniforms, so I was a bit anxious arriving at the venue, unsure if I could recognize who were my classmates and who were their partners. I thought I might have arrived a bit too early, but seeing some people inside, I decided to go ahead and open the door. As soon as I enter, a tall, thin man with a balding head approaches me with open arms. "John, you haven't changed a bit." Before I can respond, he hugs me. I'm surprised by his friendliness, but then again, it's been 27 years, so it's natural for personalities to change. There's a man with a 3-year-old boy. And next to him, a woman greets me, leaving me to wonder which one is my classmate. Feeling bewildered, I consciously smile and return the greeting. A woman with a fuller figure and a wide belt hands me a glass of wine, saying, "Long time no see, John." I have no idea who anyone is, and with each greeting, I offer a polite smile. Despite my lack of memory, it seems I stood out in some way, as everyone remembers me. Do I really look the same? You haven't changed at all. You're still as handsome as ever. Bob, on the other hand, is already in a precarious situation with his hair. Hey, come on. I'm sensitive about that, so don't bring it up. It's as if we've all been together up until yesterday, easily exchanging words. The only person I can somewhat recognize is Bob, but I can't remember the name of the woman I'm currently talking to at all. When I sign the attendance sheet, I see that 9 others have already arrived. How many attendees are there? This restaurant might burst at the seams if everyone shows up, right? Probably around 12 in total. Everyone's pretty busy, so quite a few couldn't make it, but some did send messages. Considering our age, it's not bad that this many of us could gather. Hearing about those who opted for just a message, I somewhat regretted not doing the same. The buffet is already set up, and some parents are impatiently serving food onto plates for their children. I sit idle by the counter, wine glass in hand, feeling somewhat out of place. Then, Bob quietly takes a seat next to me. I've always wondered about your final educational background. I pictured you graduating from some prestigious overseas university. No, I'm just a high school grad. Various things happened, and I ended up working at my uncle's company. Bob looks at me with surprise. Really? That's unexpected. In marriage. I'm not married, but just then, the restaurant door opens and a weary-faced man enters. As soon as he sees me, his face stiffens. Bob calls out, "Tom, good to see you made it." That's when I realize the man was Tom. Tom greets us briefly and looks around nervously. After signing the guest book and receiving a wine glass, he starts chatting with Bob. "How's it going? You'll pass the bar exam this year, right? Having a lawyer friend would be reassuring." "I know, I've been busy with a lot of things and couldn't focus on studying, but I'll pass this year for sure." Listening to their conversation, it seems Tom is still trying to pass the bar exam. Everyone has their struggles. I thought John had made it big, but it turns out he's just a high school grad and not even married. Life doesn't always go as planned. Huh? What? A high school grad? Seriously, that's the worst. Tom turns to me with a suddenly smug smile. "It's been a while, John," Tom says as he approaches. I reluctantly smile back and shake hands with Tom. "Not married yet. I thought you'd be some big shot by now." Meanwhile, my wife is a secretary at a major corporation. A high school grad like you wouldn't have such opportunities. Tom seizes the opportunity to mock me. Finding someone he perceives as weaker, especially someone he's always harbored animosity towards, must be quite satisfying for him. He's always been the type to boost his self-esteem by putting others down. This stress from continually failing the bar exam, even at 42, must be significant. I can help but feel sympathy for him, yet it seems Tom wants to pity me instead. Indeed, I'm just a high school grad with no marriage history. If belittling those around him helps him forget his own misery, then so be it. Tom looks at me with a sense of superiority. I avert my gaze, feeling slightly uncomfortable. He probably misinterprets this as a sign of inferiority. He pats my shoulder with a broad smile. "Marriage is great. My wife supports me through the bar exams, and working at a big company means we're financially comfortable. But I guess there aren't many women who would settle for a dull guy like you." "That's great. You've got an understanding wife. Speaking of big companies, could it be Johnson Trading by any chance?" Tom's face drops in surprise. "How did you know?" I nod, realizing it was as I thought. More attendees arrive at the restaurant, including a family of 4 with 2 kids. Seemingly a couple who were classmates. It's good to see everyone looking happy. I silently finished my wine and say to Tom, "You'll have another, right?" before ordering 2 more glasses of wine from the bartender. "So, what about the high school grad part?" "I was attending a university in France, but my uncle asked me to come back to take over the company, so I ended up dropping out after 2 years. That's why my highest level of education is high school," I explained. Tom fell silent, looking displeased. Perhaps he was disappointed rather than sympathetic towards my situation. Glancing out the window, I noticed the rain starting to fall, with umbrellas blooming one after another. I wondered if those still on their way had brought umbrellas, thinking about it as if it were someone else's concern. Since I hadn't brought an umbrella, I realized I'd need to buy one from a nearby store. While we were talking, the restaurant door opened, and a woman dressed in a blue suit came in. It seemed she had gotten wet without an umbrella, as she brushed the raindrops off her suit. "Speak of the devil, looks like your wife just arrived," I said. "How do you know what my wife looks like? We've met a few times before." I was well acquainted with the woman, Emma, but had no idea she was Tom's wife. She was known in my company for her hard work supporting her unemployed husband as he pursued his dreams. Emma, who approached Tom with a smile, turned pale upon seeing me. She approached with a flustered demeanor. I'm terribly sorry for the inconvenience the other day." "What are you saying, Emma? This guy is a loser in life." "What are you talking about? This man is the president of Smith Confectionery." I watched Tom's stunned look with amusement. Unaware of the whole situation, Emma began to explain my circumstances to Tom with an apologetic tone. Emma's employer, Johnson Trading, had business dealings with my company, Smith Confectionery. Indeed, Johnson Trading is a major corporation, and Emma's role as a secretary is true. However, she is a secretary not for the company president but for a sales director, and we didn't meet all that often. Recently, the sales director, Max, was scheduled to visit me, but he never showed up. Being busy as a company president, I left the matter to someone else and moved on to the next meeting. I later found out that due to a scheduling mistake by Emma, the department secretary, the meeting was missed. The next day, Max and his secretary Emma came to apologize to me. Emma, who seemed to have been severely reprimanded, was on the verge of tears. She never expected to meet me again as Tom's wife. I don't mind it anymore, but remember, people in management often run on a very tight schedule. Please ensure such incidents don't happen again. Of course, I'm truly sorry for the inconvenience. Tom must have felt quite humiliated to see his wife apologizing to me. As I finished the second glass of wine, our conversation was momentarily paused by Bob's call to action. "Let's get started, shall we?" Bob led the toast, and everyone raised their glasses, saying, "Cheers." The event then shifted to free talk without any set agenda. While Tom was still in shock, Emma tried her best to keep me in good spirits. "Mr. Smith, how is your wife doing?" "What are you talking about?" Bob said. "John isn't married." "Oh, but he is. We often meet at parties. She's the same age as me, 38, very graceful and beautiful." Tom looked astonished as more of my successful aspects came to light. As I told Bob, I'm not married, but as Emma mentioned, I do have a wife. Her name is Emily. We're in a common law marriage. Emily, 38 years old, is the development director at a foreign cosmetics company. We met when I was in France. Emily, now an American citizen, was born in France and lived in various countries due to her father's job transfers. 4 years younger than me, Emily was a high school student at the time, and we met for volunteer activities. Despite her youth, she had a solid way of thinking, and I deeply respected her remarkable character. After I returned to the U.S. and joined Smith Confectionery, our relationship became long distance, but the physical distance was never an issue for us. While studying at a university in France, Emily would come to the U.S. during her long vacations to enjoy dates with me. After graduating, she joined a foreign cosmetics company, worked hard, and climbed a career ladder successfully. I always wanted to support her career fully, but also hoped to share our lives together. When Emily was transferred to the American branch, I proposed, and we started our married life without officially registering our marriage. This year marks the 10th anniversary of our common law marriage. I explained this to Tom and Emma. That's pretty cool. It's clear you both respect each other's careers and have mutual admiration, Emma remarked with enthusiasm. Since today's reunion invited families, I think she'll come after work, I mentioned. Oh, I'd love to see her again. I wonder if she remembers me. Emma said, her excitement palpable, while Tom appeared quite deflated. No wonder, as he probably thought he could look down on me, only for the conversation to take unexpected turns. Soon, the restaurant door opened, and a woman in a beige dress entered. Upon spotting me, she called out, "John," and ran towards me, leaping into my arms. We hugged as usual and shared a passionate kiss. Holding Emily in my arms, I introduced her, saying, "This is my wife, Emily." Emily quickly blended in, leaving me aside as she mingled with everyone. After a while, she returned to us. and Tom and Emma had become noticeably quieter. I briefed Emily on Tom and Emma's situation. "Tom's the same age as you, John, so he's 42, right? Is he still attempting the bar exam?" Emily asked, a bit bluntly. "Emily, that's rude. Don't be so direct," I cautioned her. "Sorry, but it's been 20 years since college, right? Continuing as a paralegal and studying for the exam must be tough," she reasoned. Emma hesitantly spoke up. "Tom hasn't been working at all. We've been living off what I earn. It's been quite tiring." "What? Tom isn't working? That doesn't seem fair in a marriage," Emily remarked, causing me to quickly pull her aside. "There are 100 ways to live for 100 couples. Don't say strange things that might upset Emma," I told her. "I'm sorry. I forgot how different the American bar exam is from France's. My apologies, Emma, for saying anything that might have seemed critical of your relationship," Emily apologized. Emma offered a small smile and assured, "I don't mind," although her expression suggested otherwise. I surmised that Emily's comments had indeed affected Emma. According to a colleague familiar with Emma, she married right after starting her job. It is meaning she's been supporting Tom's dream for 16 years. Dreaming is a human privilege, and maintaining hope at any age is crucial. Being able to continue dreaming even at the ages of 80 or 90 would certainly make for a wonderful life. However, I personally would not pursue my dreams at the expense of someone close to me. Many believe that giving up on a long-pursued dream leaves them with nothing. This is a common sentiment. But I think differently. I believe that critical thinking, physical strength, and seemingly unrelated skills developed through the process of striving will undoubtedly be useful when embarking on a different path. This is merely my perspective, and if Emma is content with her situation, I have no intention of interfering. Every year, there are bar exam passers who are over 60. It proves that it's never too late to keep trying. Tom, being somewhat vain, probably wished to attend the reunion as a certified lawyer. I wonder how many more years he plans to rely on Emma. Once he passes the bar and becomes a lawyer, I think Emma has every right to make some demands. After the reunion ended without incident, Emily and I decided not to attend the after-party and headed home. Did I say too much? If Emma is happy with how things are, that's all that matters. I'm still learning the American way of thinking from you, John. But it always seems to come after I've already said something, Emily pondered. I'm sure there are others who offer similar advice to Emma. If she's fine with Tom not working at all, then all we can do is to support them. I reassured her, holding her hand tightly to comfort her. Emily leaned into me, and I wrapped an arm around her shoulder as we walked to the station. Later, through a group message created for the reunion, we learned that Tom had failed the exam again this year. Everyone started posting encouraging messages like, "That's too bad and better luck next year." Tom didn't respond and soon quietly left the group chat. None of the other members knew what happened to him after that. However, since I often worked with Emma, I heard the rest of the story. Failing the exam again was a hard pill for Tom to swallow. He began to drown his sorrows in alcohol. Even though the money for the drinks came from Emma's earnings, without a word of gratitude. His studies suffered, and he frequently mumbled, "I was just unlucky," while drinking. According to Emma, meeting me at the reunion also contributed to his loss of motivation. He initially misunderstood you as a high school graduate and single, which he thought would give him a sense of superiority. Instead, he was shown a different class altogether. Rivalry can be a tricky thing, she explained. "So, you're going to continue supporting Tom as before?" I asked. "Well, I've been offered a job overseas. It's a great opportunity and exactly what I wanted to do. I don't have the capacity to support anyone else right now," she revealed. Emmy asked Tom to consider working while studying for his exams. However, Tom was convinced that working would hinder his studies. "Then let's part ways. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. I want to take a chance on it, Emma declared. She packed her belongings into a trunk and set off for her new posting. But who could truly call Emma heartless? Emma seemed to make up her mind on divorce. Left alone, Tom, having relied on Emma for household chores, resorted to a diet of macaroni and cheese. Yet, he insists on continuing to take the bar exam until he passes, even though he can't quit drinking. It's hard to imagine a bright future for Tom, and I'm probably not the only one who thinks so. A year after the reunion, I attended a wedding between classmates. Both the bride and groom were divorced, with children close in age. It seems they reconnected at the reunion and finally acknowledged their feelings from middle school. Once they confirmed their feelings, everything quickly fell into place, leading to their remarriage with children in tow. Emily and I were invited as a couple. Family is wonderful, isn't it? Maybe I should have had children too. Emily mused, her words lingering in the air. Even someone as beautiful and talented as Emily, with a successful career, can have regrets in life. We're a fine family as we are, aren't we? We don't need children to be happy, I reassured her. I know, it's just wishful thinking, she replied. There are many forms of family, and happiness varies depending on what one values. We have our own way of life, and we're living it to the fullest. The key is not to compare ourselves with others. Tom's unhappiness stemmed from constantly comparing himself to me. Once we start comparing ourselves to others, our happiness starts to fade away. I'm happy with our family, Emily. I'm happy with our family too, John. Gently holding hands across the table. I'm willing to do anything to make this happiness last forever.